Instrument builds are always fun, but the wiring can be cumbersome. However, this robot friend, built around a toy piano xylophone, requires zero soldering, making assembly a breeze. The xylophone runs CircuitPython code on a Metro RP2350 with an I2C to 8-channel solenoid driver breakout, connected with a stem QT cable. The 8 solenoids screw into the breakout terminal blocks. The xylophone has 2 modes, Live MIDI and Music Box. For live MIDI, it can listen to incoming MIDI messages over USB. For Music Box mode, it can play back MIDI files that are saved on the Metro. 3D printed parts help to position the solenoid so that they are perfectly centered above the keys and have enough height to strike the keys. The entire assembly slides over the xylophone so it can return to its non-robotic form easily. To see how you can add this project to your growing robot band, check out the Learn Guide at learn.adafruit.com.
Live from New York, it's Ask an Engineer.
Hey everybody, welcome to Ask Engineer. It's me, Ladyada the engineer, with me Mr. Lady on camera control and the chats, and behind us, circuit boards. That's what we do here. We make electronics.
Yeah, we're tiny. We build these and then we go back to normal size later.
Okay. We've got a fun-filled show for you for the next hour. We're going to be covering everything in making, hacking, coding, soldering, 3D printing, LED blinking, and more. We'll have questions at the end. We'll have top secrets, new products, videos, open source hardware. Man, it's a non-stop. But let's get right into it because people want to
said it all. That's the show.
What?
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
See you next week.
Tell them what's on the show and tell them what's the code.
On tonight's show, the code is Power Peak. If you want to peak at your power, you're going to need a code. You need electronics, but you need code because you're going to want to save 10% off. Use code PowerPeak, 10% off in the Adafruit store all the way up to 11:59 p.m. or when I remember to turn the code off because I usually leave it on and then go to sleep because someone's always like, oh, I need to get it at the last second. We'll talk about show and tell people, show and share their project. We had a special announcement and more. We'll talk about that in a bit. For the desk of Ladyada, we have some highlights and more, including from the desk of Ladyada, the great search. We got JP's product pick of the week. Got some open source hardware, which is usually our learning system, which has files and code and schematics and videos and images and all the things you need to build stuff. 3D printing, we've got Rapid Render. I might play it, depending on what we're doing on time. But either way, we're going to do a speed up. You'll see that soon. Rapid Render is our segment where we look at some of those tools where you type something in and it helps you get further and faster along in your 3D design. Some of them are using LLMs. Some of them are doing other stuff. We shall see if any of these work out. We explore it, so you don't have to. Then there's NPI, new product introduction with DigiKey. It's on semi. Ladyada has a bunch of fun stuff because I had to put the images in and I saw it. I read it. New products. Got to start the show. Top secret. We answer your questions. We do it on Discord, adafruit.it/Discord. Go over there. And we also have the questions that you've posted up online.
Join the community there.
In the chat, tagged, ready to go. All that and more on, you guessed it,
Dun, dun,
Ask
dun.
an Engineer. Okay, so PowerPeak's code. Ladyada, let's first start off with some things. As you enter the code, there's free stuff. We don't need to go over that. Y'all know. In New York City, there is free save, or not free. There's same day delivery.
There's so much going on.
Oh no!
Ah! Do you need me to reboot you?
I'll edit that in post. No, because I was talking.
We're live.
I was talking about free shipping. It makes sense. It's if you just
Same
move the
day.
you just move the audio to the video, it syncs up nicely now. So start the record and play Wizard of Oz now. Same day, It costs money because obviously it's same day delivery.
A lot of students like it.
It's in New York City. Yeah, I took my glasses off for a second too. I wasn't thinking. And then let's just jump right in. So from Desk of Ladyada, we do that on Sundays. We had these little figures. We showed those over on the overhead because we have a little bit of history. Why don't you show those off? I got them here.
Yeah, okay.
So these are the little figures. Noah and Pedro, they did this neat tutorial, and
who knows?
you type in stuff and it makes this like little figure, and then they showed how to make it 3D printed. But we've been doing this for years, Ladyada and I. Anytime there was like a 3D printed thing where you could scan yourself or have someone scan you, we would do it. And maybe there was AI involved in the past. I didn't say it. It wasn't the lead story for sure. There probably was. And stitch together, make a 3D tool, but I don't have the files. I try to get the files. It's called...
They don't usually give them to you. They're like,
I think it was called like Doob in New York City. So can you show the other one?
Oh, right.
And like, here's the other thing. I'll say this. It does, when you get scanned, the scanner adds about 25 pounds.
You look pretty good.
That's what they say though.
Yeah.
The 3D scanner adds 25. No, I was like, at the time, I was really fit. You
were really fit.
I was fitter than that 3D thing.
I'm not using my little belly button.
I was fitter than that. So I'm just saying.
You're looking like there's.
Just so you know. Good. Just so you know, that's what happens when you get in front of a 3D scanner. That's my excuse.
Well,
what did you show in the part one? Do you remember?
Oh, Desk of Ladyada. Okay, so I talked about a lot of it was I talked about the SI. The 73, I don't remember, the 4772 is like an AM, FM, shortwave, longwave radio. We looked at some prototypes, my Ethernet breakout. I showed off a design with the TPS 61169 constant current.
What did you do for Great Search?
And for the Great Search, for that radio module, there's for single sideband or like long wave or short wave, I don't remember one of the modes, you have to set up an RF filter to take out the FM and AM radio and just get you that long wave or short wave, I don't remember. Look at the video. So I found, and it's a specific inductor, a 4.7 microhenry RF wire wound inductor with a Q over 20 at 25 megahertz. And I showed that's like not uncommon when you do RF. They're like, the Q is important. It needs to resonate above the frequency. The resonant frequency is to be above the frequency you're filtering. And so, because it's not really filtering, it's resonating. So you have to make sure that you get the right inductor. So not just the inductance and the current that's important, but also like the capacitance and resistance inherent to the inductor.
Was this chip that you were saying before was discontinued and you have to find it?
The FM transmitter chip was discontinued and Scilab sold their radio chipset to Skyworks because they do a lot of like radio stuff.
Interesting. So they're like, oh, we're not going to make this anymore. So like you can have it.
And to be honest, there's like not a lot of like nobody's really transmitting to FM. Like that used to be a thing.
I'm trying to think of like, when's the last time I'm like, you
would transmit to your radio, but now to be honest, everything's digital. It's really unlikely to do that. So the chips kind of got.
Once in a while, I'll find a radio that I've like moved from place to place that you should have in case there's a storm.
Yeah.
I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
For 10 years of moving this right now, it's a little crank.
Yeah, we have that little crank. I think we got that as a gift.
What am I thinking?
Okay. Anyways, that's what was on the Desk of Ladyada on the Great Search.
Yeah. It would be nice to have a little. If FM is really over, it'd be nice to just be like, you know what, do whatever you want and make little pirate radio sets.
FM isn't over. It's just people don't make micro radio stations.
Yeah. Much. That's what they did.
But like, we were in like, if you take a taxi, they're constantly listening to the radio.
Yeah. All right. Let's do JP's workshop every single Tuesday in the product page. Here's a recap.
It is the USB-C CC resistor fixer. Cable to this to Gizmo. Two little resistors on here say to the CC lines, hey, I want 5 volts, please. And it will get the 5 volts. Send that along over power and ground. Just looking up at the top here, it says 51% full. I've got a little battery gauge there. It's yellow. I'll go ahead and plug in my cable. It didn't ask for anything. This has not moved to any sort of a charging symbol. If I take my little CC fixer and plug that into the cable, you can see, first of all, if this lights up green, that means that, yes, we are successfully negotiating the 5 volts from the supply. And now when I plug this into my handheld, you can see it has switched to a charging symbol. Yay! The USB Type-C CC resistor fixer.
All right, JP's workshop is on Thursday. All right, folks. So, I look over and there was a note that said that the breaking news on Desk of Ladyada, Adafruit News Network, and federal trade court blocks Trump from imposing sweeping tariffs under emergency powers law. And it's from the Associated Press, and it's from 7:46 p.m. Just happened, and it's unclear to me what it means if the federal trade court on Wednesday blocks this imposing sweeping tariffs on imports under the emergency powers law. Like, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean?
Nothing. It doesn't.
Okay, so no take backsies. Like, what happens?
It has to go. It gets appealed, then goes to another court. It doesn't just because.
Because the worst part is, like, I know.
I can also put on a wig and yell at the street corner in New York. Doesn't mean it doesn't.
Do you want to do that later? Because I've got a box full of wigs. Yeah, okay. So the thing is, once I get off air, I'll see. It doesn't seem to me that anyone knows, and so you'll probably hear a bunch of people sounding kind of like I do, but they'll say other words. Unknown. Tune in tomorrow. I was going to do a.
This is like an emergency tariff talk.
What is that, Bob? What is that? Oh, hey, Dad. Been what? So I'll look at stuff while we're playing some of the videos, but everyone's going to say, is the tariff thing over? Probably not. Probably not. It's probably just going to be, you know what? Here's my prediction. Things are going to be more expensive tomorrow.
I know.
Here's more stuff we're going to play for you tonight. We do 3D Hangouts on Wednesdays. Deep Dive is on Friday. When I was putting this show together, because we have like backup babysitters, we have babysitters, but it's life happens, and so I ran out of time to do the entire show I want to do, which is good anyways. It'd be like 4 hours. I was going to do like a maker business segment and a little tariff talk segment, like a little bit, and then everything just started happening all at once at the end. So Kickstarter, who's I gotta kudos where kudos should be kudofified. Kickstarter has been doing things like, here's how you do with the tariff tool. They have this pledge over time. You can make 3 non-interest payments, because I think maybe they were like, do we want to have those, like every website now, I was buying something for $1.99. It's like, do you want to make 80 payments for 90% interest for the next
this is
5,000 years? I'm like, no.
You're still pledging before the thing ships.
Yeah. So I do like that there's more activity, because it does make sense. Like some of these are kind of expensive, and I would like to make. And here's the other thing. If you're only doing 3 payments and like something really bad happens, you're not going to have to give more payments to get ripped off by something. Yeah. Like, you're just like, you just do one payment. All right. And then happy Father's Day, everybody. Did you know, according to Google co-founder, if you treat AI like, your son, I don't know. It says Happy Father's Day. Google co-founder says AI performs best when you threaten.
Where does it say Happy Father's Day?
It was on the webpage. It said Happy Father's Day.
It doesn't say that.
No, I know. But I'm saying the way it looked, though, and I ran out of time. I was gonna screenshot it, because this is how they had the photo of the Google thing. So they stuck a round Google in the back. Like, that's not real. There's not a round Google behind him.
Yeah.
And then he's there. And then it had Happy Father's Day.
Yeah.
And it said, and basically what I saw was, if you yell at your kids, they do better. So I didn't like it. By the way, this is terrible advice.
Speaking of AI.
So speaking of AI, I've been working on this because we do meetings, and some people were asking me, what if I'm in a meeting and there's like one of those AI attendees? Because Adafruit doesn't use one that forces you to do any of those things, where we ask our team how you want to use these tools. So there's no forcing or even like letting an AI in without permission. Like, there's a lot of things you can do. So I said, well, maybe we'll make signs and buttons and all that. I think this doesn't matter, because we're all going to be merged into one thing anyways. But up until then, though, there's AI free, and it has 6 fingers. Research designer. I thought that was clever.
And it's like a little sparkly thing, which everyone always uses.
Very Logan runner, yeah. Extra credit, bonus points for anyone. Does anyone know where that sparkle came from? Like, does anyone own it? Was there a commission? Was there a logo design committee? Is it offensive to stars? I don't know. I actually don't know. So I'm going to look it up later. And then the other one is, come on in.
Yeah.
That's what our 6 fingers and everything. So we'll see. We'll release this somewhere, but I don't think it's going to matter if you put a sign up.
Whereabouts can't read this.
Well, like, Having signs that tell someone or something not to come in ain't cool. Open source hardware, that is what we do for a living. It's working out. Some people think it's a good idea. Some people are quiet, but their silence is so loud. Ladyada, we have the learning system. We have thousands of guides. This week, what is on the big board?
Okay, so we've got from Noe, Pedro, and Liz this week's 3D project. The videos next week is the mother of all demos USB key set. So if you've ever seen like the Doug Engelbert video, he's using this like weird corded keyboard. And we saw a project where somebody was like, "Oh, like I made it USB-ified." And I was like, "Well, what if you don't? What if you're not Doug Engelbert's estate and you want your own?" Well, you can make your own now. 3D printing and a cutie pie and some stuff. Yep. We have a guide about using Adafruit, the big arcade buttons. People had a lot of questions about like the terminal block sizes and how to pick the voltage and the LEDs and how to take them apart and put them back together. So Carter did a great guide. All of that. We've got a guide for the new Sparkle Motion stick. WLED board, and from last week we've got the glowing birthday number crown and birthday number pendant for people who are under 10. It's easier because you don't need 2 batteries. And then I think all these projects I think were from
if you want to save a lot of power, have 10-year-olds.
9-year-olds.
9-year-olds save more power than 10-year-olds.
Yeah, less half the power. And then we got the solderless robot xylophone and updates. This is from last week, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got all that going. Okay, so do check it out and more. And of course, do check out Playgrounds. You can check out the encrypted mesh communicator with thermal camera.
Oh, that's fun.
That's very nice. You can check out the handheld Arduino console inside of a VHS tape. That's very cool. The Fruit Jam game pad tester. We have a couple of Fruit Jams out in the wild. Some people are doing cool stuff with it. Reading digital dial gauge using official USB serial cable. So if you wanted to get the data coming off one of these things here, that's very cool. I was going to ask you about a project today, but I ran out of time in the other meeting.
Yeah.
About grabbing some things off devices, and can we do stuff with Adafruit IO and Whippersnapper? We saw a cool demo today too. Anyways, so that was
check out Playground.
That was Playgrounds. So go there and post your projects and more.
No ads.
No, we don't do ads. Okay, let's do 3D printing. We're going to do a speed up, and we're on time, but I'm not going to play the other video because it's long. So we're going to do a speed up of this cute...
We could end 2 minutes early.
Yeah, so we're going to do that. So here we go, speed up time. All right, so I went to the computer. Those who've been following the show, there was an announcement that the tariffs are blocked, the Liberation Day tariffs. We specifically left out Liberation Day because it was starting to be used as like a term, not talking about the tariffs, just like talking about terms instead of the thing. So we just said tariffs. But the reciprocal tariffs, so the tariffs that were announced are on pause. But does that really mean tomorrow we're not going to get a tariff bill? No, we're still getting a bill, but I don't know. I thought.
Getting a bill.
Yeah, when people ask me, I'm like, well, do you think you're going to build? And the answer is always yes. Somehow.
Yeah, DHL loves billing.
Yeah, so...
I mean, it's just the same.
Yeah,
line.
It's funny. I just opened up CNN on like one of the browsers that's like only meant to show our site, which doesn't have ads or anything. And it's like CNN's like, you must do a lot of stuff. You got to do a lot of things before you come in. But let me just go to the browser for a second. I think I got past this. So... U.S. court blocks Trump's Liberation Day tariffs. I think this goes automatically to like the bulk, but not all of Trump's tariffs will be temporarily paused after a 3-judge panel in Manhattan ruled in favor of a permanent injunction. Well, this is Manhattan. That doesn't really mean... Let's see if there's anything here.
The 30% tariff, 25% on Canada, and 10% universal.
All right. Well, I mean, by the way, folks, in case you're wondering,
I mean, this is
before the election, we were talking with friends, family, and they're like, "What do you think's going to win?" I'm like, "Trump's going to win. There's going to be a bunch of tariffs things to be like terrible to deal with. Not who cares about the politician thing. I'm just saying there's going to be this again, and we're here, so there's not a surprise. I really wish Lamore could only work on hardware. Everyone, she has a lot of good ideas.
I spent a lot of time today doing pricing analysis because of the tariff stuff.
Yeah.
It's like I have to do the tariffs of every component affect the final product, but it's not like sometimes that product is a big part of it, some it's not. And you have to like do this recursive.
Generally speaking, I'm into like not really having special exceptions for folks, like making things as fair as possible. I'm going to change my mind about one thing. There's only so many years we can squeeze designs out of you. We need to get more designs out of you. No, really. Right? Like eventually it does end. And so like, hey, everybody, we could get way more
squozed
amazing electronics that are going to be free forever under open source licenses, or we can like hit refresh on CNN to see what's happening. Let's do NB Terra toothpaste. That's a terrible flavor. Orange juice and mint. Why'd you pick that one?
Because you're squoozing me.
Okay, so let's get out of here. Let's go to INMPI. Hey, you know what, everybody? It's new product introduction time. This product doesn't have a tariff for the next hour.
Yeah.
Crazy Ladyada's.
Go buy it.
Crazy Ladyada's House Pancakes and
Components.
On NPI.
All right, INMPI brought to you by DigiKey. And Adafruit, thank you so much, DigiKey. Onsemi is tonight's INMPI celebrating a temporary pause in Manhattan on tariffs. Woo, party! You know, it'd be cool if it was just Manhattan. Everybody's moving here.
Well, it's a federal job.
Oh,
okay, let's keep going.
All right, go.
Okay, next up, we're doing Onsemi. We did Onsemi last week because we did those cameras with the global shutter, but sometimes you get two in a row. So this week we're also doing Onsemi. We're doing their eFuse, the NIV and NIS 3071. Actually, DigiKey recommended this because they said a lot of people were asking them about this product, and they thought more people should know about 4-channel eFuses. So we've covered eFuses before a couple times. And for folks who are probably wondering, like, what is an eFuse? Well, it's a lot like a normal fuse that you're used to, these kind of glass fuses that have a wire inside. And you've seen these in, cars and toys and microwaves and your multimeter. They allow a certain amount of current. Once you go over that current, that wire in the middle gets really hot, burns up, and opens up, thus protecting you and the device from having too much current go through it. Problem is you can only use them once. And so people came up with the idea of polyfuses. These are temperature-based resistors, and as more current goes through them, they're nonlinear. So as the temperature gets hotter and hotter, it reaches a certain point where that much current has gone through them, the temperature goes up, the resistance starts growing exponentially, and then they open up and they basically become open circuits. They don't let more current through until they cool off. And then once they cool off, the resistance drops, and then current is allowed through. So, these are basically resettable versions of those previous fuses. These have voltage limits, whereas most glass fuses don't. And there are, usually they can do a lot of current, but maybe not as much as some glass fuses. But they're still not, ideal. Here's a fuse, for example, that we use in the Sparkle Motion, and this is like a 5-amp fuse, which is not even like that much, but it's like huge. It's physically quite large. Whereas, like, if you look at, this product is a W solder. I don't have it right next to it, but it's like an eighth of the size of this gigantic fuse. So previous fuses we covered from Onsemi were for like computer systems that were good for like 12 volts. They were higher current for like hard drives and stuff, so 12 volt, maybe 5 amp. This particular product is not specifically designed for, but is often used by people doing automotive projects. Although I think anyone who's doing a robotics project or anything with distributed powers is going to be interested in eFuses, because not only do you get that current limitation control, but you can also turn on and off, and this is sequence the power. So you can turn off and turn on and off the power sections of your project one by one, which helps kind of stabilize the system. You turn on maybe your microcontroller, wait till that boots up. Now you turn on the radio system. Now you turn on the TFT display, then you turn off the motors, going step by step so that the boot up doesn't, the boot up and power draw of each system doesn't affect the others. And this is happening more for automotive because, as people have EVs and the cars that people have way more technology in them, like you now have like entertainment systems and a lot more climate control, and you have, maybe separate charging stations, and you have a lot more sensors and safety equipment, and like, electronic locks, and everything is electronic. And so the wiring harnesses of automotive have gotten like really intense, because it used to be you just like roll down your window with like a knob, and that's now like 30 years ago. Now everything is electric. And so you have to distribute power all over the place, but doing that efficiently and easily so that things don't break. They last through all temperatures. They survive vibration. They survive the complicated wiring systems. Having an advanced power management system is important. That's where eFuses come in. And in particular, what's great about this fuse is that it can handle up to 60 volts and 2.5 amps per FET. So they have this pass FET with a current limit sensing in it, and you can you can enable each one on and off, and it also has like thermal and under voltage lockout. And because it can do 60 volts, it's very good for the kind of automotive systems where you have 48 volts or 24 volts or 12. You have multiple voltages that you might want to control. And each one is independent, but they can be up to 60 volts. And one thing is, you're like, well, 2.5 amps isn't much. What if I need 5 or 10? Well, you could double up, triple up, or quadruple up the outputs. So for example, in the bottom left, you see if you need 10 amp out, you just connect all the inputs and outputs together, and now you've got up to 60 volts, 10 amps. So it's kind of nice. You can, use it either way. Each of the FETs has an enable pin, so you can, like I said, sequence each one. Each one has individual input, output. There's iLim. So iLim is the current limiting. So by default, it's 2.5 amps, but let's say you want, 2 amps or 1 amp only. So the channels are all set by that one resistor. Of course, if you double them up, just multiply it out. And there's also DVDT, which is your slew control. So another thing that comes up with these is as you turn on each power segment, you want to make sure that you don't have this like huge spike in voltage, which can ring or can cause spikes and difficulty for the capacitors if they don't like to be charged very quickly. In which case, you set up the slew rate, you put like a capacitor or resistor on it, I don't remember, maybe both, what goes to capacitor, and it'll slow down, so you can say limit it to be like 1 volt per 10 milliseconds or something, a nice slow ramp up to keep everything going nice and smoothly. There's 2 versions in stock. There's the NIV and NIS. The NIS is the non-automotive one, so it's like 20 cents cheaper. But if you're doing automotive and you want the qualification for that, then pick up the NIV through 3071. There's also other variants in the eFuse family, like onsemi has a ton of different products. But I think especially if you're dealing with stuff with 48 volts, this is going to be great, because I think a lot of eFuses I've looked at, to be honest, don't usually go above like 20. They're not meant for higher voltages in automotive. So check this out.
Was this used on the Apollo command module?
Did they use, I don't know that they had, they might have made DIY electronic fuses where they electrically control stuff, but honestly, they probably use relays. I don't know, maybe. I don't know if relays work well in
there's a lot of
Astro.
A lot of documentation about the missions that needed some fixing.
Yeah.
On the way or back, so there probably is some information about that.
I don't know,
we can probably find out.
But if you're designing, automotive or other transport systems where you want to minimize your wiring,
perhaps,
then check out this eFuse from onsemi.
And that's this week's Eye on MPI.
Eye on MPI.
All right, that's Eye on MPI. The code is PowerPeak. As I was hanging out over here, listening to Ladyada, I went over to the CNN site because that just happened to be the one that was like closest to my hand.
Yeah, again.
And I went, and it was it's a little unclear what's going to happen next because Trump's saying like, look, you can't come in and tell me what to do about a national emergency, and pause these tariffs. So I guess a lot of things are going to define. I think lawyers and judges and people, they're always curious, what's the test case? What's the thing that's going to be the thing to test it? I've always wanted to know, like, are these powers, are they forever? Are they limited? Can something like this?
Look, they had
the imagination.
They always have a chance to take away these powers, but they don't.
The imagination that you would have to think of everything that can happen 200 something years in the future or more of the founding documents. It's hard. So people have to look at what's going on and debate. Can this happen? We'll find out. Stay tuned. Hit refresh.
Speaking of new products.
Speaking of, save 10% as we get charged more 10%. It all evens out in the wash. I don't know. It's time for new products, Ladyada.
I'm never getting that money back.
No.
New. Okay.
It's our new home robot companion, Woody. No, it's a little tiny. It's a little tiny.
Okay, so this is a little wooden, it's I think a 1 foot tall wooden mannequin figurine that's used for posing an artist. It's a common gift that you see in art supply stores.
Yeah.
We gave these away in our Ada box so people could do cool time lapses, and we ended up with a couple hundred extra because we don't always know how many we're going to get and how many need to be repaired and replaced. So we have a couple extra, and they're in the clearance bin. Pick them up for a buck. A great add-on to your next order.
And you can paint these. You can do fun stuff with it. It's good to put clay on top. You can make them into figurines.
You can put jewelry on them.
You can do all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
They're fun if you're a kid. Kids like these. Okay, next up.
Okay, next up we've got we've had these fan cases for the Pi 4, and now we have a fan case for the Pi 5. It's like a heatsink fan case. These are kind of cool. They're like solid chunks of aluminum. They have a bottom piece that screws in and a top piece, and you'll see all the ports are exposed, so you can connect the PoE hat, you connect to the debug port, of course to the camera port, the two video ports, the PCIe port, the two camera video ports, and the fan port. What's nice is because the Pi 5 has a fan connection that's separate than the 2x20 headers, is that you can, if you get a little riser thing, you can connect hats on top. So you can add like a PoE hat on top, or a PCIe hat or whatever, as long as your cable is long enough. It comes with one fan, which you put in, and it goes through the fan control system, so you can turn it on and off. It's not on all the time. It'll only turn on when you're really pushing the Pi 5 quite along, and it's got little heat sink things to attach the case onto the hot elements, the main chip, and I think the RAM and stuff. So check it out. It's for the Pi 5 only.
Okay, next up.
Next up, we've got a special version of the Sparkle Motion Mini. This is our little WLED board. That's
cute.
It's the tiniest board I can make that kind of does everything for ESP32.
WLED. This is nice. I haven't seen this.
Yeah, it's got.
Cute that is on the back.
Yeah, it's got a fuse for, I think 5 amps, maybe 4 amps, 4-layer board, ESP32 classic module, I2C, and also 3-pin power ground data for like external sensor peripheral, mode button, built-in USB serial converter, and then 2 level shifted outputs, so you could do dot star or 2 NeoPixel strands. And then there's also a couple GPIO pads if you want to like connect some other accessory or a rotary encoder. It's just really tiny. And we sell a version without the terminal block. This one has a terminal block in it. Of course, it makes it bigger, so it's not as compact, and it overlaps like one of the breakout holes. But if you want to have a no solder solution, it's now a no solder solution.
All right, and then last up, the star of the show tonight, Ladyada, besides you, the refresh button on CNN, our community, our customers, our entire team, and everything that makes Adafruit go is
the INA 237 breakout.
It peaks your power.
It peaks at your power. So this is a power monitor in the same family as the INA 219 and the 228. In fact, it's pin compatible with the 228, but it's a couple things that make it different. One, it's a lot less expensive. So if you don't need a 20-bit DC power monitor, this is a 16-bit. So that's where the price is lower. It has otherwise pretty much the same specifications. It can do up to 85 volts DC monitoring, either high side or low side. It can do either high resolution, quote unquote, high resolution 2.5 amp or lower resolution but higher range 10 amp readings through the 0.015 ohm onboard sensor resistor. You communicate with it over I2C. You can get instantaneous current, voltage, and power readings. Like I said, it's a lot less expensive than the 228 because it's less precise. It only has 16-bit resolution, and also there's higher offsets for error possibilities. So if you need precision, high accuracy, the INA 228. If you are cool if it's off by a couple millivolts, couple milliamps here and there, and you like that high voltage range, that the 85 volts, this is a great one. We've got a library ready to go, so you can use Arduino and CircuitPython, and Python libraries coming very shortly. It's not completely code compatible with the INA 228. You do have to recompile the code because of that 16 versus 20-bit. And unlike the INA 228, it cannot do charge or energy calculations for you. I don't know why, but that's just not included in this chip. It only does current, voltage, and power, which is still like what 99% of people want. So you can pick it up. It's got everything soldered in, so it's plug and play, no soldering required. And then you just communicate over I2C using your favorite microcontroller or microcomputer.
That's new products. Okay, the code is PowerPeak. So I went back over to the website that has news, and here's some news. I don't think that this is going to work out. Because they're like, oh, the International Court of Pancakes or something says like you can't do tariffs. It's like, okay, that's gonna stick.
I know.
So I think this is like, hey, we're like, I don't know, by the way, guys, like a little late to be making this decision.
I know how they open at like 9 p.m. Eastern.
No, I mean like the number of days have passed since this has been going on. Yeah. Like, where were you? So we'll see what happens tomorrow. I think there might, obviously there's probably like the way this court system might work, there might be like things in the US and things they work internationally as well. Whatevs. There's still tariffs. Top secret. Okay. So here's what we're going to do for top secret. It's a 3-minute video. It's worth it. This is Ladyada using Claude code in a very cool way. Stepper motor stuff. This is what everyone will be doing soon. You see it here first, though. Whatever Ladyada is doing on the weekend is what we're all end up doing full-time for our livelihood and job. So check it out. And it's good to see how she uses it and decide if it's something that could help your workflow. Then you're going to do a little bit of, you have sent me one that I got a chance to put up. I'm about to. And then we're going to do some questions and we're out.
Okay, cool.
All right, let's play that video. See you on the other side. I'm going to watch a video or a press conference or something very quietly.
I can't wait. This just goes back and forth. It's canceled. It's not canceled. It's canceled. They hate you. They don't.
Hey, everybody, we're back. The tariffs are now even more. Okay, breaking news, everybody. If you have a pet, the pets are tariffs, you're not. Breaking news, everybody. The pets are, they're tariffing their owners. Okay. Anyways, let's go to this.
All right, Ladyada, what is this?
I'm microstepping with the ST Spin. That's this little chip here. This is an ST micro stepper driver with like the kind of standard step and direction interface. What's interesting about this is, we did the A49800. We did also 4988. We also did the TMC 2209, which is this one. I don't know if you can see the text. Maybe, it's over here, TMC 2209. That's actually really popular. This one can do lower voltages. It might be also a little less expensive. So I wanted to check it out. One thing that's interesting about it is it can actually handle, even though it doesn't have more than like 4 internet I/O pins, it can do up to 256 microsteps. And it does that by like the modes when you reset it and take it out of reset, determine the microstep. So because of that, I ended up writing a library because like keeping track, because like it's like, you notice it's not even in like the right order. It's like mode 1, and mode 2, and then mode 3. It's like this is really confusing, guys. Like, why do you put 3, 4, 1, and then 2? Yeah, don't do that. Maybe put them in order. Anyway, so we wrote a little library to, handle the microstepping settings and stuff. And I made it sort of compatible to the Arduino stepper driver. And so you can do, you can set it and then set the speed and then you just do steps. So it's not asynchronous, but you could set this up to be asynchronous if you want. Right now I'm just testing that I get all the modes by like stepping the number of micro steps times the number of steps per rotation. It should rotate once each direction for each mode. And like, that's when I figured out that I had some of the modes wrong. So I did this library with Claude code using the new version 4.
Off the press.
Right off the press, yeah. Because I had to do this anyways. I kind of liked it. I mean, I didn't notice a huge difference between it and 3.7, but I do like that it's definitely doing like these little checklists more often. I noticed that's kind of keeping it like
They might need things just to keep it going off the guardrails. Like if it's self-checking, but it goes off in the wrong direction just a little bit in the beginning. It might need to be once in a while. It's like, what road am I on?
Yeah. So what I do is,
exit was I supposed to get off of?
So like, I have Claude running like over here, and then I have the data sheet, so I can like, because it says.
And it's by the way, folks.
It's confused.
These are touch screens. Ladyada uses.
They don't even work.
She uses Minority Report style computing.
It doesn't. I don't know. I'll figure out eventually, but. Like for example, like you realize, once you get to 256 microsteps, you have to like do a lot more type verification because the default stepper driver for Arduino, like I wanted to kind of mimic the same function prototypes, but it turns out like they were using in 16s and you can't use in 16s because like 256 microsteps, suddenly your numbers get quite big when you're doing like one revolution's worth of steps. So. But so far this is good, and this the driver looks nice, and I think this is a nice little breakout for this chip. So I'm going to, now that I know everything's working, I'm going to put the PCBs.
Alrighty, good
Stepping.
stuff.
Boop. Boop.
Don't step. Do step. Don't step. Step.
Step a lot.
All right, and then another breaking news: Elon Musk is no longer a special government employee. I saw that.
Okay.
Whatever. Okay, what's this?
Okay, we saw this
What's this interesting?
sensor being used on another breakout, and it's like a BMP. Actually, I think this is humidity. It's not. It's actually a pressure temperature sensor. I think it's like a typo.
Oh.
It's like the BMP 280, but from another company. And I was like, oh, well, it's always interesting to see like pin compatible. So I just made a prototype, and I'm going to just solder that sensor on there.
Okay.
The SPA06.
Stay tuned for more soon.
So I was checking out new chips.
Questions. All right, we'll write into questions, Ladyada. Let's kick it off. We have some from Discord, or do we have some from all around? And then we have ones that were stored up. You ready?
Okay.
First up, instead of using a mic, is there a way to make something sound reactive by using an audio jack pass-through?
It's actually the same circuit. It's the same like underlying circuitry, but you would have a headphone jack. The only thing is most people, they're moving around, especially this hot top hat. So a mic makes more sense. But you could just adapt it to use a plug-in jack instead of the mic.
Okay, next up, do they block UV? And how about the copies one would see through the liquid crystal due to diffraction? And then, that's awesome. I love the tech theme piece. Is very cool.
Okay.
Sorry, that was just like, but do you want to answer this?
I have no idea what they're asking.
This was for the glasses that we did.
I know, but I just don't understand. Does it block UV? I don't see why not. It blocks like pretty much all light.
Okay. All right, and then this
They're
one.
used for welding.
Yeah, this one I have to go and find out which one that went with. That was my bad, so that might come next week. Very nice. How strong is this material? This is clear resin parts from PCB Way.
Well, I think I wouldn't crack them, but the resin seems to be much stronger than just like 3D layered printing because it's kind of bonded all together rather than having these little spots where it can crack. So it's like as strong as injection molding.
Okay. Folks are asking for a CircuitPython in a nutshell. It's funny. I almost did a ECMA script, JavaScript like thing in a nutshell. It was Flash's native language, or their language later. It's going to be called Flash in a nutshell a million years ago, but it would be similar with CircuitPython. Module objects, function descriptions, basically a CircuitPython object reference guide. Thank you. We will take a look at it and maybe...
to be honest, a lot of products have, the CircuitPython Essentials Guide. It is kind of a tutorial, but it's also kind of not because it takes you through everything. So check out the CircuitPython Essentials Guide in the learning system, and it covers a lot, like that's CircuitPython dependent.
All right, I have a very small screw that's quite close to some PCB components, not directly touching, but maybe 0.5 millimeter space away from it. I want to add some kind of insulation between it, but space is very small. Is there any good options for it? They were going to use Kapton tape, but it doesn't. Maybe stick in the small space. Maybe better to brush on some conformal coating. What do you think, Ladyada?
Well, if it can be a nylon screw, of course, that's best because you don't have to worry about it. But if you can't do that, then maybe add a nylon spacer so that the head of the screw is above where the component is. So like you can get these 1 or 2 millimeter tall nylon. They're just like thin spacers and they'll just lift the head of the screw. You need a longer screw, but then there's no risk of it bumping in and touching that conductive part.
All right. Can the rails be easily extended?
Yeah, you can use any length rails. I think it's just they wanted to make something small and portable.
Okay, and this I kept this. I don't know why
It's so tiny.
I know this is my question for ants. I'm so sorry, Brandon. Here. Let me see if I can make this bigger for you to read.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
How is there a popular and affordable multimeter with SPPI, TSP, or other programmable
I
capabilities?
don't know one. I've never heard of a programmable multimeter. I mean, there's the ones that you would connect to your phone, but they're not like, they don't have a display. It's a little bit of a bummer. Maybe we should make a programmable multimeter. That'd be fun.
It is on my list of things as you learn Circuit Python in general, and you
Yeah.
get hardware is like.
What's interesting about
ruler,
multimeters is they're
mouse,
all in one
keyboard.
chips, right? They're not actually,
Modules.
they're not, there's nothing programmable about them. They're like, it's like these
This does it.
off the shelf chips. So it'd be obviously more expensive, but you could use something like that INA 237 and make your own little power monitor.
Yeah, you can make a bunch of little breakout boards, and maybe when you assemble them all, stemma style, it becomes a multimeter.
Ta-da!
That will Voltron. Okay, that is our questions from the world, and then the world before right now. So now let's go to the questions that people asked in the chats. Okay, here we go. You ready?
Yeah.
Is the antenna design different for FM and narrowband FM?
No, because it's not the filtering on under that channel band is done in software. It was just like to get all the noise from and just look at that band.
Okay. The project description for the metal case for the fans says the fan is always on.
Oh, it's just a typo. I'll
Typo.
fix it.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So anyone here been playing with AI for hardware designs is curious. So we've hit the sites that say that they do, like GitHub for hardware. So far, nothing in production. If we did, obviously, we'd say like, hey, this is made from, here's the link to what we did, the prompts. We do I guess the closest thing would be an open source license for AI. I tried to get it in, but I think it's too early. I don't think folks are ready for this yet. But I haven't seen anybody who's like, here's something I wrote the prompt. Here is it doing it, coming up with stuff. I sent out the PCBs. Here's the thing, and now I'm showing it off and it worked or didn't. I haven't seen that start to finish.
So I was actually talking to the CEO of Microchip yesterday, and he was like, because you're talking about like the future, and he thinks that we'll be able to do AI with hardware, and I was like, maybe, but the thing that I think like people forget about AI. So AI right now, there's like YOLO, right, that does like vision recognition stuff, and there's like graphics recognition, but 98% of AI is just a wrap around an LLM. And circuit design is not textual, like programming or writing emails.
Yeah.
Or
Someone would say,
therapy.
what about the multimodal AIs that look through your camera and do all sorts of things?
That's different. They recognize it's different to do a synthesis of like organic or graphical things to create an image and a schematic which has a logical underpinning to it. Like you can't just have the puppy anywhere. It's like the component has to be connected a certain
No, you're
way.
saying so like all these generative graphics, they look beautiful, they look amazing, they look real, but they're a photon deep. There's no
logic to it.
Yeah, it's not like you can do anything in that world and it's still okay. Where you make a PCB and it comes out real.
So
and
I
you
mean,
plug things in.
I'm not saying it's not possible. I think like for FPGA, for example, I think that does make sense. And I think you can describe schematics in a textual way, but it's like, there's not enough training data because most schematics aren't explained in a textual way. They're explained in a
Look how
graphical
hard it is
way.
to get a PDF into something now.
So I'm not saying it's not possible, but like, I haven't seen anything that doesn't suck.
Yeah.
So
People are
it could
trying.
Yeah.
So here's the answer.
I mean, try,
Here.
but I don't have anything right
Here's
now.
the answer. Some people are playing with it. We haven't. We're curious to see what people do with it. This current version of AI, which isn't really AI with LLMs, might not be the right tool for the right job for trying to do what they want to do. But someone has to find out. Glad it's them. We will try it out for some of the. I just got an email, by the way. They're like, "Can we send you our like investor thing?" I'm like, "We don't do investment."
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I just don't like. We don't
get the bag, okay? But I wouldn't actually recommend it to anybody.
Okay. BME 280 question mark.
No.
Okay. Does the radio chip from last week support DAB radio, like digital radio channels over FM?
I don't know. Go check the data sheet.
Okay. For the IMX 708 cameras, like the RPI Camera 3, are there any special things they need to make it work on the Raspberry Pi 5? Cables are fine. Edits due to the config.txt file fine, but still nothing loading.
Post to the Raspberry Pi forums will help you out.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Then that's the show, everybody.
Okay.
Thanks so much for joining us. It's been a roller coaster. I am going to...
Okay, you go do CNN. I'm going to design hardware.
Yeah, so here's what's going to happen. You know, we're trying to open our shows before 9. We did.
Yeah. We did.
Good work, us.
Thanks. Yeah, okay, good.
We had a lot of stuff going on today. If you only had an idea what was going on, there was a lot. And then we're trying to run lives. And we love it because there's been no better time to do electronics. Last night, we hung out with the COO of Microchip. Center of the world for so many things in manufacturing and electronics. I think we're doing some neat stuff that we're going to be able to talk about soon. I think they're doing some neat stuff, and it's exciting. It's also a lot of work, and it's also sometimes in this industry, we probably have to figure out what people actually want more than on the software side, than more maybe what some of the stuff can do. I'm looking for some real world examples. That's one of the things I think we can all work on. Training for all these tools are important. And then, you know, there's humans here. This is all supposed to make our lives better.
I'm a human.
All of it. Everything. Our electronics to like these AI tools supposed to make our lives better, not worse. So we'll see everybody next week. Thank you so much. This has been Adafruit Production.
Bye, everybody.
We'll see you soon. Here's your moment of Zener.
Have a great night.